You've got ideas, you've got ambition, you've got no time, or so you think. I'm Marissa Lonick, and I help busy moms with big dreams and no time. Join me each week as I dive into time management strategies, goal setting and achieving framework, and inspiring guests who are juggling mom life, work life, fill in the blank life. Dreams don't work unless you do, and just because you're a mom doesn't mean you can't still make it happen, whatever it means to you. Welcome to the Mama Work It podcast. Hey mamas, welcome back to another awesome episode of the Mama Work It podcast. I'm always so excited that you're here, that you're tuning in, that you're listening. If you're new and you're not sure what this is all about or who I am, my name is Marissa Lonick. I am a working mom of 4 kiddos, and I am the founder of Mama Work It, which is an organization that supports the juggle of mom life, work life, wife life, fill in the blank life. So I wanted to talk about this topic today because particularly right now, especially, we're in a new year. We're in like the later half of the first month of the new year. And I don't know about you, but for me, what I know that has typically happened in the past, and that happens to a lot of people at this point, is even if you have all the motivation on January 1st and all the energy and all the excitement to make big changes, you can start to feel a little less pep in your step, a little less oomph, a little less pumped to actually get those goals accomplished the more time that passes. And so I also think maybe this is a little bit in part due to the season we're in. Like if you live in the United States, it's winter time. It's probably cold or colder than normal. Maybe it's even snowing or raining or precipitating, something that doesn't allow you to get a hearty and daily dose of vitamin D right now, which I like to believe is like this magic medicine you get from Mother Nature every day to feel good. And so what happens? A lot of us, we tend to procrastinate. We tend to hibernate. We tend to wait on things. And while I'm definitely a fan of honoring the season you're in, like maybe right now, your priority isn't focusing on training for a marathon because you're not sleeping through the night. Or maybe it isn't finding a new job because you're also caring for a sick parent. But if you're feeling like shit procrastinating on something, if not doing the thing is making you feel worse than probably diving in and doing it, you are going to want to listen to today's episode. So I've given a lot of talks on procrastination to groups of executives, to global organizations. I've even coached dozens of people on how to navigate through procrastination. It is a topic I've researched quite a bit, and it is a topic I know affects a lot of people out there. And to be honest with you, I wish I could say it's a topic I've mastered myself. Like I would love to tell you that I never procrastinate anymore, and that would be a lie. But I will tell you, I understand it a lot better. And so I can navigate through it a bit more easily most of the time. And so today, I want to talk about like this big fat elephant in the room that can often be more than annoying, downright obnoxious when it comes to getting out of our own way and just getting the thing done that we want to get done. So firstly, before we can talk about how to solve the procrastination problem in our lives, we need to understand what it actually is. Most people out there, they correlate procrastination to laziness. Have you ever done that? Like, I know I have. I would silently judge other people who would procrastinate and think, oh, they're just lazy. Like, get up, get moving, get it done. And when it came to me even procrastinating, I would do the same. I would judge myself. You know the term like tough love? I wouldn't even give myself tough love. Like I would give myself tough hate, complete hate on myself for not having the ability to power through and get the job done, or like complete disgust that I couldn't just muster up the motivation to get started. So if you are someone who tends to confuse procrastination with laziness, if those two things sound kind of synonymous to you, I want to tell you that more often than not, that is actually not the case. Okay, it's actually anything but most of the time. And that's because procrastination isn't a characteristic of who we are. It's not a part of our identities. It's actually a coping mechanism. And it is a coping mechanism for so many things. It can be a coping mechanism for boredom, for self-doubt, for fear, for stress, disinterest, anxiety, skepticism, perfectionism. Let's unpack that a bit here, because you might be like scratching your head thinking like, what the hell is this lady talking about? So for example, if you are really not interested in doing something, the chances that you will procrastinate are definitely higher. So if you're bored at work, if your job is not intellectually challenging you, stimulating you, that might be something you're struggling with. Maybe it's time for a new challenge, a career change. On the flip side, if something is stressing you out, like you're not exactly sure how to do it, or you're feeling like you're really unprepared for this particular thing or unqualified, that could be causing you to procrastinate. Like maybe you really, really detest public speaking, but you need to give a big presentation next month. And so your coping mechanism might be to just hold off on it because it's super stressful for you. And it's just a lot more comfortable to not dive headfirst into a pool of stress or discomfort, right? You like to stay in your little lounge chair of procrastination. That's much better. That feels good. But the problem with that is that you don't actually get to relax in that comfortable lounge chair, do you? At least not from a mental perspective, because procrastination, it still takes up room in your brain. So if you didn't think that the mental load of motherhood was enough, why don't you try adding procrastination to the mix and really push yourself over the edge, right? It can make your brain feel like it's going to explode. It can make it hard to focus on other things because you've got this nagging friend, procrastination, in there reminding you of all the things you need to get done, but giving you zero support to actually do them. And that can feel really, really tough. Now, something else I learned about procrastination in all this research and all this experience I've had with it is, and it was like a huge light bulb moment for me. Okay. And that is there are actually two kinds of procrastination out there. Two kinds. There's passive procrastination and there's active procrastination. Passive procrastination, this is the type of procrastination you generally think of when you imagine someone procrastinating. This is like the typical, I'm going to do that later, and doing absolutely nothing productive in the meantime. So maybe like doom scrolling or Netflix binging or something very passive. But then there's this thing called active procrastination. I've also heard it referred to as productive procrastination. And if you are a high achiever, chances are you are procrastinating in this way more often than not, and you may not even recognize it. So I didn't even know this was a thing I was doing until I learned more about procrastination. Like I would think I was actually being productive, but then I'd end the day and I'd feel kind of shitty because I didn't get done the thing I wanted to actually do. And it was like confusing AF. So what active procrastination is it's putting off the intended task of doing something that you want to do, and instead filling that time with something else, quote unquote, productive. So like instead of completing the presentation you need to get done that you've been procrastinating on, you decide you're going to like deep clean your kitchen or fold all your laundry or like alphabetize your pantry. I don't know, whatever task you want to like check off a to-do list, or maybe it's not even on your to-do list, but it's typically a task that's like easier, less uncomfortable to do, and something you can complete. So you're like, well, I'm doing something productive. That's better than doing nothing. And I guess that's true to a certain extent. But the truth is you're not really dealing with the issue at hand. And so you don't feel great because that other task that you've been procrastinating on, it's still looming. It's still taking up really precious real estate in your brain. So we all know there are lots of consequences when it comes to procrastination. I'm not going to go into these in depth because this show is only 30 minutes and I want to make sure I leave you with some really solid, tangible action steps you can take when it comes to overcoming procrastination. But I will just say, it's likely more than you think. It's likely affecting you on the negative more than just you think. So it's not just the stress and the anxiety of feeling worried about getting things done. It's also sleep deprivation. It can manifest in physical illness. It can hurt your reputation. It can break trust. It can even lead you to a place where you're feeling unable to be calm, to feel at ease, to relax. Unable to relax. That is not a healthy, good place to be. But the good news is, if you are feeling these things because of procrastination, I'm going to give you 3 ways to combat it. So even if you're one of those people that's like, I do my best work under pressure, or I don't really mind my procrastination, but you feel any sort of negative impact, negativity in conjunction with your productivity, I want you to listen and I want you to give at least one of these things a try. All right, here we go. Okay, first things first, I want you to focus on the future feeling. Not the immediate future of like, well, right now I would feel a lot more relaxed if I didn't have to have that difficult conversation, or if I didn't have to troubleshoot this really challenging problem. Like if I was doing something else. No, that's not what I mean. I mean, focus on the future post project, post task. Focus on how you will feel after your looming task is completed. I want you to write down this quote. Okay, I didn't say it. I can't take credit for it, but I love it. Do something today your future self will thank you for. Do something today your future self will thank you for. I heard this years ago. Again, not sure who said it, but anytime I have felt the urge to procrastinate on something, if I simply say this to myself, it's usually a really good reminder to just like do the thing. Exercise, clean up the kitchen after dinner, finish up on a work task I don't really love or I'm not enjoying doing. Whatever I am just not that excited to do, it helps me move forward when I focus on that future feeling, like that version of me that's going to be so damn happy and proud. This is off my list of things to do. All right. The second thing is I want you to break down whatever task you're procrastinating on into smaller steps. So in particular, if you are procrastinating because the thing it feels very daunting to you, break it up into tiny micro steps to get there and focus on each of those one step at a time. I also want you to set super reasonable expectations for yourself. So if you like to typically set really big, audacious goals for yourself, nothing wrong with that. But if you find that your track record is that you don't complete things, or it's hard for you to get started, or like it's hard for you to even, just keep the momentum going, you need this step. So listen, I'm a coach. I love goals. I help people achieve goals every single day. And yet when we have these really big goals, sometimes they often just kind of sit there. Or if we have too many goals, this can happen. And the reason is because we get a little intimidated or we feel a little overwhelmed by the volume. Or my personal favorite, maybe there aren't very clear directions to get from where you are to where you want to be. So you procrastinate. Guys, this happens to me, probably happens to you. So what can you do to help yourself in procrastination situations like this? You can break the task down into smaller steps. Break down the goal into smaller goals. Clear, small, simple, actionable steps. And then set really reasonable expectations. Maybe it's just one of those small steps you're going to do today. Maybe it's 2. Maybe it's 3. But nothing that's going to make you feel like this is too much or I can't possibly tackle this or essentially make you procrastinate. So that is step number 2. The second thing, break the task down into smaller steps, especially if you're feeling like it is overwhelming or just too big or you're not even sure where to get started. All right. Another quick tip when it comes to procrastination. All right. Third one, it is to eliminate distractions and procrastination temptations. So basically, you want to make it harder to procrastinate. So what do you think your biggest distractions are? One I hear a lot is social media. So guys, maybe you delete your social media apps for a while. Okay, that might feel too excessive for some of you listening, but here's an easier and just maybe less scary tip that might work for you. Don't have your social media icons on the home screen of your phone. So what does that mean? When you unlock your phone, don't let your social media icons be right there, front and center. Instead, make a folder. Don't put it on your main home screen so it's harder to get there. Like, give it a few taps and clicks that you have to consciously do to get to those distractions. A lot of us, we have like this muscle memory that when we pick up our phones, we automatically check Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever it is, because we're so used to doing it. And it's so simple and easy to get there. And what happens is it's a distraction. It aids in our procrastination. And so instead, something you could do, put those icons in a folder on a different page. So it takes you a couple swipes, a couple taps to open them up. You may be able to catch yourself more easily in that process and stop procrastinating via distraction. Another tip here, you can also turn off the notifications for all your social channels. So on my phone, only notifications I have are for my texting apps. All my social app notifications turned off. All my email notifications turned off, which means I'm not prompted to open them whenever somebody likes or comments on my post or sends me a message or an email. Now, could I probably do better proactively checking these things? I'm sure there's room for improvement there, but it's definitely not as tempting when you have some of these boundaries in place. So make it harder for yourself to procrastinate by limiting or eliminating distractions and procrastination temptations, whatever those are to you. All right, my friends. I hope you found today's episode helpful. When it comes to procrastination, I know a lot of the things I just said are a lot easier said than done. I get it. Procrastination is tough. It's not always an easy thing to just like kick to the curb, but the more you practice navigating this, the less likely you will be to tap into procrastinating as your coping mechanism when you feel a certain way or when a trigger comes up for you. So as always, thank you for listening, for being part of this amazing community. I can't even believe as I record this episode, it has been 4 years since this podcast started. So thank you for being a listener. If you found this episode helpful, please take a quick second, leave a review, share it with a friend. I appreciate you. Keep on working it, mama. Bye for now. You've been listening to the Mama Work It podcast. I hope you've enjoyed this episode and would love if you could take a quick minute to leave me a review on whichever platform you're listening from, and maybe even send a note to a fellow mama friend recommending it. Reviews and recs help this podcast grow and reach more like-minded, awesome moms. And if you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click that button so we can stay in touch, girl. By the way, if you haven't checked out the Mama Work It website, please do. There are lots of free resources and great articles there that can help you with the juggle of work life, mom life, wife life, fill in the blank life. So head on over. Thanks again for being part of the tribe. I'll see you soon, but in the meantime, keep on working it, mama.